Anastasia Grashman was a famous OnlyFans model, adult film actress, and a highly talented tattoo artist. Born into a poor family in St. Petersburg, Russia, she rose from nothing and built a life most people only dream of. She had the fame, the money, and the success. But then she disappeared. Without warning, Anastasia stopped posting on social media. Her fans, her friends, and even her family grew anxious. Where was she? What happened to her? While everyone was left guessing, the police received a chilling tip. A girl called them with disturbing information that led officers to an apartment. What they found behind the bathroom door was horrifying. Anastasia's lifeless body left in a bathtub decomposing for over a week. Her body had 2 deep stab wounds. Cut to black screen. Text appears, "The horrifying murder of Anastasia Grashman." Before we dive into this heartbreaking case, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And today we uncover the tragic story of Anastasia Grashman. Anastasia was just 26 years old when she died. She lived in St. Petersburg and had a massive fan following online. She was a creative soul, a brilliant tattoo artist who started drawing and programming at the age of 12. She was heavily influenced by anime, Japanese, and Korean culture. By 15, she got her first tattoo, and after that, there was no looking back. She tattooed nearly 80% of her body, all by herself. The only untouched part was her back because, well, she simply couldn't reach it. Despite growing up in poverty with an alcoholic father and a helpless mother, she managed to turn her passions into a profession. But beneath the surface, Anastasia struggled. She battled depression and even went through therapy. While her career soared, her love life was full of red flags. She had a tendency to fall for toxic partners, men who used drugs, treated her poorly, and manipulated her emotions. Then came Dmitry. He approached her for a tattoo, and they instantly clicked. Their bond turned romantic. Though he was already in a relationship, Dmitry broke up with his girlfriend to be with Anastasia. But Dmitry, too, had a dark side. He spoke terribly about his ex, accusing her of physical abuse. Later, that same ex would come forward and say Dmitry was the real abuser. Friends warned Anastasia. They didn't trust him. But she believed him, trusted him blindly, and soon they got married. Dmitry became her manager, helping her run her growing tattoo and content business. Then Dmitry suggested something that changed everything. He convinced Anastasia to enter the adult film industry. She didn't need much convincing. The two began making videos together and uploaded them on OnlyFans. Her fame skyrocketed. She earned a fortune and lived in luxury, a high-end apartment, sports cars, and expensive clothes. But the fame came at a cost. Her family and friends were shocked by her decision. They tried to convince her to stop. But Anastasia stood her ground. She said she wasn't doing it for money. She genuinely enjoyed creating content, and it was all consensual between her and her husband. In 2022, she was even invited on a popular Russian talk show where her family confronted her. They begged her to stop, blamed Dmitry for influencing her, and warned her about his criminal past, his history with theft and evading military service. But Anastasia defended him. She was blinded by love, and that blind trust cost her everything. What really happened in that apartment? Why did Dmitry, the man she trusted the most, end up being her worst nightmare? In the next part of this video, we'll dive into the investigation, uncover shocking details about Dmitry's life, and reveal the final moments of Anastasia Grashman's tragic journey. Stay tuned. Anastasia was gaining a lot of popularity online, especially through her OnlyFans videos. Most of her audience were men, and they adored her. They showered her with attention, praise, and money. And Anastasia enjoyed every bit of it. She loved being admired. It made her feel alive. But her boyfriend, Dmitry, felt the opposite. He grew increasingly jealous and possessive. He couldn't stand the idea of Anastasia talking to her fans, even virtually. He didn't have a job of his own. He was living off Anastasia's earnings. And the fact that she was becoming more independent and admired drove him mad with insecurity. Dmitry was terrified that she'd leave him for someone better. And slowly, this fear started to turn into something darker. The relationship began to deteriorate. Fights became a daily routine. The love they once had was replaced by tension, mistrust, and distance. Eventually, Anastasia confided in her mother. She was done. She wanted to leave Dmitry and move to South Korea to start fresh. She had a dream: open her own tattoo parlor and live a new life. She even sold both her sports cars to gather enough money for her move, but her dreams never came true. In 2022, police received a call regarding concerns about Anastasia's well-being. When officers arrived at her apartment, what they discovered was beyond disturbing. There was a strong, foul smell coming from inside. When they entered the bathroom, they found Anastasia's lifeless body in the bathtub. She had been stabbed 22 times. It was one of the most horrifying scenes the officers had ever witnessed. And the most chilling part? Her body had been there, rotting, for nearly a week. But that wasn't all. During that entire week, Anastasia's friends and family had still been receiving messages from her. Someone was replying to texts and even posting on her social media accounts, pretending to be her. It didn't take long for suspicion to fall on Dmitry, but he had vanished, nowhere to be found. Police launched an intense manhunt. The media picked up the story and public fear grew. Dmitry was still out there and clearly dangerous. As the investigation deepened, police discovered Dmitry's online search history. It was damning. He had been researching how to dispose of a dead body, how to remove blood stains, how to convince others someone is still alive. It became clear this wasn't a crime of passion, it was premeditated. Finally, after days of searching, Dmitry was found near an abandoned building preparing to flee the city. Thankfully, he was arrested before he could escape. At first, Dmitry confessed. He said he killed Anastasia during a heated argument, claiming it was a moment of uncontrollable rage. But soon after, he changed his story. He now claimed that Anastasia wanted to die, that they had made a pact. According to him, she was depressed and asked him to end her life. Police didn't buy it. During the investigation, Dmitry reenacted the murder for the officers. He described how he stabbed her in the throat while she was asleep. Just after Anastasia's death, Dmitry began selling her expensive belongings. He even sold a few training sessions in her name, collecting fees from clients who thought they were signing up for her classes. And that sports car? The one Anastasia sold to save up for her big move to Korea? Dmitry took that money too. It's obvious. Dmitry was lying. If he really planned to end his life, why would he need the money? He wasn't planning to die. He was planning to escape with everything Anastasia had worked for. But he made a huge mistake, one that stopped him from leaving the city. Dmitry was paranoid after the murder. He was scared and careless. In his panic, he confided in someone, his new girlfriend. Now, there isn't much public information about this woman, but it's safe to assume they were romantically involved. And Dmitry told her everything. At first, she wanted to stay out of it, but over time, the weight of the truth became too much. She couldn't carry that burden anymore. So she called the police. Thankfully, because of her, Anastasia's body was finally found. In court, Dmitry's lawyers tried to paint him as a victim. They claimed he was mentally tormented by Anastasia, that she overshadowed him, constantly reminding him of his failures, that she pushed him too far. But none of that could justify what he did. The truth was, Dmitry was extremely insecure. He could see Anastasia slipping out of his control. She was planning to leave for Korea, and Dmitry couldn't follow her because of his criminal record. He had always tried to control her, her life, her decisions, and even in death, he wanted that control. He was jealous. Anastasia's fan base was growing fast, and Dmitry hated living in her shadow. He relied on the money she earned, and now he feared she would leave him, just like he had once left his girlfriend for Anastasia. So before she could walk away, he made a horrifying decision. He killed her and tried to run away with all the money. This was not a crime of passion. It was clearly a premeditated murder. After a long and chaotic trial, the final verdict came in. Dmitry was found guilty. But to everyone's shock, he was sentenced to only 8 years in prison. Millions followed this case closely, supporting Anastasia's family and demanding justice. And when the sentence was announced, many were outraged. For such a brutal crime, just 8 years? Now, Dmitry will spend the next several years behind bars, but Anastasia will live on in the hearts of her family, friends, and countless fans around the world. Her supporters continue to remember her through fan pages, tributes, and daily posts. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story powerful, please subscribe to our channel. We're on the road to 100K, and your support means everything.